But there is more than just the event themselves. There is some evidence that we can have a thing called second impact syndrome. Some people don't believe this, but certainly in my career, I have seen one individual, a 16-year-old Welsh boy who was injured in this way. But this is a Northern Irish child who died, and it was after having an injury early on in the game. Whether or not it was causative, we don't know. There wasn't enough. But it's certainly a risk. If you are concussed, you have a risk of having a second injury. But as a consequence of all this knowledge, my colleague is going to talk a little bit about concussion assessments later on, we have come with schemes to try and assess what is and is not safe, what is a concussion. And the head injury assessments, which you'll have heard so much about in the Six Nations, is a common thing that's done, as is the recovery, the return to play. But let's look at it in reality. This was, in fact, sorry if I can go back again. Can we play this? This is again, Jamie Roberts is in fact a doctor. And what I ask you to do is to just watch this impact. Can you see the impact? Now they fall to the floor. One of those players fractures his skull. The other one goes up. The one with the fractured skull, which is Jamie Roberts, carries on playing the game. Now, what you have to ask yourself is, should we have had a mechanism by which he could have got off the pitch? Was the head injury assessment, which wasn't present then, would it have actually picked that up? As we've said, the trouble is that when you start asking players, they can't give you the straight answer, because once they're in a position that they've had a head injury, they make bad decisions. So why is a player allowed to play on? And any of you here are involved in sport, you know the situation. If you've had it yourself, you want to stay on. There is the problem, you might not recognize it, but sometimes it is quite obvious. If you don't recognize it, well, there should be in elite rugby somebody watching. In other sports, you've got to watch yourselves. It's the other players, it's the spectators who should also be a part of looking. There is a thing called the Goldman dilemma. It's again worthwhile looking at. There's some questioning about how how much veracity there is in this. But it was said that if you gave a tablet to a certain number of people and you guaranteed them a gold medal, would they actually take that tablet if it was going to kill them in 5 years? And about half of them said yes. Now, it has been challenged, but certainly my experience is that people do have a goal and they will get it at all costs. But it's the last one of those, which is the wish of the manager, which I think is the most important. And for all of you here, whether you're mums and dads or club individuals, the wanting to get on, the wanting to win, is something that gets into everybody. In the heat of the moment, you do not want that player to come off. If it was Johnny Wilkinson, the England-Australian game, just before the end and he got a head injury, would the doctor have taken him off? It's a very difficult situation. But the rule is, if you have a concussion, you shouldn't go on and play. And I feel very strongly that the benefit must always be on the side of erring to caution.